Hey, Silas here. Just more on the Project Veritas and the continued dissolution of the news. This one focusing on CNN, New York Times, and pretty much the American media, the set American media, how it's just slowly crumbling. So, with Project Veritas, James O'Keefe has had his technique of releasing videos slowly by slowly, kind of like the death by a thousand cuts, where he has this technique where he releases a piece of a video, whoever's being reported on comes out and says something, and it's like, oh no, like that's not what, that was out of context, or no, there's no way we're going to actually admit to that. That's not what we said. And then all of a sudden he releases another video that kind of comes around that and says, no, this is actually what you were saying. Or somebody else somewhere says something that's like, oh, that goes against the narrative that they've been spinning, and even goes against what they were trying to do on the damage control. Now, the most recent video was a video with somebody from the actual New York, somebody established in New York. I'm going to put a photo of him up or links in the low bar on the Rantathon website. But this guy comes on and he says about the general populace. He says, yes, the voters are stupid. Most of the voters are stupid. And, you know, when someone thinks that, like, oh my God, that's offensive, that's horrible. I mean, some people on the right are saying this is a horrible thing. These people don't care. But I know people say this about people about a lot of things. I'm going to say this about myself on a lot of things. I am stupid at most things in my life. The problem is I don't get to vote on most things that I'm stupid on. But when it comes to voting, people get to vote about everything. So now, on this situation, now you take this fake news thing, you take this Project Veritas thing, you take this video coming out, you take something of people being called stupid. How many people are going to hear this and actually care? How many people are going to hear this and actually change their mind on what CNN thought about us? I know I wasn't surprised the guy said that. I mean, I think, yes, they think it's stupid. I know I've heard people on the right talk about people being stupid. Go check comment sections in all these sites, and yeah, people say they're stupid. But then now, the difference is, this is supposedly a news channel that's supposed to be giving us unbiased information, that's not supposed to have a bias to one side or the other. But I think if you are not stupid and you have been watching these sources, you know there's a bias. Now, stupid might be too harsh of a term because I personally didn't see these biases as much. I mean, I used to clearly see the bias on Fox News, but it took me a while to see the bias on MSNBC and the bias on CNN and these other sources. So now that this information is out there, I say even the people who do get to see the information, there's a difference between stupidity, willful ignorance. What I'm trying to say is, when I talk about these issues with people, with friends of mine, and just other people in politics in general, people on the left, people on the right, whichever side of the political sphere they may be on, if they're willing to have a conversation with me, I am expecting that they're believing that actual talking and conversation may actually change my mind on something. I am trying to establish, can I change their mind on something by telling them new information? So that's a select group of people who decide to actually get this information, get these conversations. So now you have a situation where this information is going to be pumped out there. I'm trying my best to share this information with people and see if this is actually going to change people's minds. So let's say you say, out of 1,000 people, only 500 people will actually get to actually see this information. Now, out of that 500, what is the percentage of the people that will actually be affected and have them change their mind one way or the other? I'd say about 15% of those people already knew this about CNN. It's not really going to make them think better or worse of it. Another 15% are probably going to think this is fake news. This is just bull crap. We don't believe what James O'Keefe is saying. It's out of context. You're going to buy into what CNN was saying. Another 15%, I think, will actually be swayed by this, that actually get to listen to this, of like, wait, I actually didn't know this. This may be the straw that finally breaks the camel's back. It takes a while for some of these things to pile up for you to get to the point where you're like, oh my, this is the 20th scandal that finally now I'm seeing. There was this analogy I used with somebody talking about it, where if you're building a jigsaw puzzle, sometimes you're focusing on the edge. You know, I normally try setting up the edge first, and then you might get these different pieces that remind you of something, that look like a piece that's in the middle, maybe some castle is in there. You're like, oh, this is probably it, and you might put it off to the side here. But right now, while you're focusing on setting up the edge, then once you set the edge, or once you've got enough pieces of that castle, then you're like, okay, I'm going to take time off of focusing over the edge, and I'm actually going to talk to this. I'm going to focus on this castle. I'm going to actually put my attention and put these castle pieces together and see the image there. So this James O'Keefe thing, this Project Veritas thing, this might be that for some people. They might finally be putting on and saying, yes, actually now it's worth putting attention and putting this castle together and seeing the image that we have here, seeing that fake news image, seeing that corruption, seeing the horror, seeing the horrificness of what's happening there. And once they get to that point and they see that, if they still want actual news, which I think most people do, they want information. If something's going to be beneficial to them, they'll want that in their life, and they'll think, yes, this is something I need to go, and then they'll find other sources of information. Because that's the beautiful thing about it, people. Even if we're finding out that these sources aren't good, it's not like you're finding out that, oh, the food you've been eating is actually junk food and it's actually bad for you, and there's no more food in the pantry. It's like, no, you find out the food that you've been being fed, that you've been sitting there just taking in, is horrible. But you just open the fridge and you find vegetables and you find a lot of other healthy food, or you can call like somebody to bring you other food. There's tons of other sources of actual nutritious food out there. So that's the thing. This may be fake news. It may have been hurting you in your life, but there are tons of sources of other things. May take a little more effort. Some of them, it might not. Subscribe to some people. Get some people's podcasts. Get some information. Walk around. There's information out there. So anyway, as I was saying, that 15% will actually change. And that 15% can do a lot. So that's 15% that's already knows this. It's not going to change their way, good or bad. They're going to think about CNN the same way before. Another 15% are going to think it's fake news, so that's not going to affect them. Like, those are probably supporters. They're going to be like, yes, this is actually a thing, good or bad. Like, I don't care. It's not an effect. 15% will. And the other 55% that actually hear the information won't care. They'll just go along with their life, because whoever wins at the end, wherever the dust settles at the end, they'll still go along with that. And as I said, that is only the 500 out of 1,000 people that even hear about this. When you talk to most people, okay, half the people at least in this case, they won't even know about what Project Veritas is happening. They won't even know this information. So anyway, that's just my little blurb on this. I'm going to have probably have like a group of blog posts, because this is an ongoing thing. I may not directly talk about each situation, but I will have regular posts on the blog rantathon.com talking about, or at least updating with the Project Veritas thing, or you can go directly to Project Veritas Visuals, and actually watch the material directly from the source if that's interesting to you. Yeah, that's it for now. There was one more thing. There was those tweets I talked about in the video, the savage tweets that people are coming up and jumping out and saying like, oh, I can't believe Trump is attacking a female's appearance. Yet in the video that he probably reacted to, as I said, that being the straw that breaks the camel's back, that finally makes him focus on this thing. You know, he's focusing on the outdoor, on the boundary of the puzzle of being a president, doing those things, and then enough people say things and he finally focuses on it and tweets it out. But they were saying, okay, he's talking about female's appearance. Now you get the CNN producer talking about how Kellyanne Conway looks like she got hit by a shovel in the face. I'm trying to see, will the same people who said about Trump that he's making fun of a female's appearance hold this guy as accountable for saying that about Kellyanne Conway? I doubt it. But that's the life we live in. That's the kind of timeline. And yeah, that's it for now. Like, share, and subscribe. Check out the blog, rantathon.com, or just subscribe to Dying Alive. That's my channel here. And hope you have a good weekend, or whenever you're watching this. Don't want to assume your timeline. All right, bye.